Would I be okay if my child did this? If not, I probably should not do it. And I'm not okay with her cursing. Do I want my child to be getting high? No. So why would I get high? Why would I go and get drunk? How would I feel if my son was out here throwing himself at every woman that would say yes, the same lifestyle that I was living, putting himself at risk of false accusations, of tarnishing his reputation? I'm not comfortable telling my daughter, do as I say and not as I do. God revealed to me, if you really are to be ready to have children, you need to be willing to change a lot of things about yourself. What's good? My name is Nova. I've been a father for exactly a year and a half, and there's my daughter crying in the background right now. What happened to that little baby?
I don't know. She got something coming up here. A tooth was cutting through on this side. On the bottom.
Yeah.
I saw it earlier today. That's what she's
She has an icy there. You want me to give it to you?
Baby girl. That's what she feels pain.
Yeah, that's why she likes that ice cream.
Yeah, she loves that. And that has fruit, so it's good.
Oh, you just gonna go ahead and bite?
Yeah, she wants to take a chunk and put it on that molar. Yep. Yo, you can't make this stuff up, bruh. Her name is Genesis. I chose her first name and my wife chose her middle name. And I just wanted to share with you guys my journey and what I've learned. Disclaimer, I've only been a father for a year and a half. I'm still novice level. I mean, obviously there's so much to go through, you know, beyond just the toddler stage. It's the adolescent stage, the teenage stage, and even the adult stage. You know, there's so much about fatherhood, and fatherhood is forever. But I've got 7 things that I've learned about fatherhood in the past year and a half. And I've got some news for you guys at the end as well, so stick around until then. Fatherhood started way before I even was thinking of being a father myself, because number 1 is I learned how much I truly meant to my parents. I mean, this is something you don't know until you are a parent yourself. And I hate for it to sound so discriminatory to those that aren't parents. I know there's people that are aunts, that are uncles, but I'm sure that this is something that you experience even being an adoptive parent. When you have a child and they're relying on you for their every breath, their every waking hour, to protect them, to shield them, to teach them what it means to be in this world, that truly puts the empathy for your parents on a whole nother level. And I understand that not everybody has or had parents that cared for them and loved them, but there's people that do or did have parents that loved them that still didn't do the best job in their opinions. I mean, we all think our parents could have did a better job, yet those parents that are loving and are doing their best, they seem to make these mistakes that are so catastrophic to their children that they don't even see, because they're doing their best, and they're doing literally what they think is going to be the best outcome for their child. And it's just something that kind of pains me for my parents, just thinking how much they care about me and how much they've tried for me. The sleepless nights of my mother praying for me to come back to Christ, to get on a better path, to protect my ways. That's something that I couldn't have possibly understood until I had my child. Just having that precious feeling that no matter what, and this is number 2, learning what it means to be unconditionally loving. I mean, everyone always says, oh yeah, I love my spouse unconditionally, I love my brother, my sister unconditionally, but we all have like that one thing that has set it off or severed ties with somebody that we said that we would love unconditionally. And yet, when it comes to my daughter, it feels like there is literally nothing that she could do that would make me not love her. And I mean anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't mean that I won't discipline her or that I don't think that she should pay for bad things that she does in life and that she shouldn't learn and have that discipline in her life and reap what she sows. But I will always be by her side. I will always love her. I will always be there. And I would never reject a hug from my child that asked for it. I would never cease saying I love you to my child, no matter what she said about me, no matter what she said to me, no matter what she has done to me. This is my child. And I'm just I have like this sort of existential anxiety of thinking of the worst possible scenarios. I've thought, what would happen if my daughter like offed me? If she beat me up or got me set up or what? I would still love her and pursue her and just try to convince her what this love is, to try to demonstrate to her what that love is, because everyone, no matter what, is deserving just because they're a human being. And this unconditional love has leaked out to other people that aren't my child. I've been able to love humanity and love others more because I have seen human at its most innocent state. And everyone was in that innocent state at one point. And no matter what they did wrong later on, something went wrong at some point to take them out of that state. And yet now when I look at people, I look at them as these babies, as just these hurting, pained children that require love to sustain living, to sustain their will to live, to sustain the desire to live, to love, to be loved, and to love others. And that is an unconditional love that no one else could have taught me besides God and my daughter. And truly, children are a gift from God in a way that I couldn't have possibly understood until I experienced it. I mean, people have always found me to be intelligent, but there's just certain things, there's certain experiences that you just have to gain wisdom beyond intellect. And going a little bit back further to number one, there's just times where I'm more empathetic of how much my mother loves me. Thinking of, the times that I have pushed her away, in the teenage youth years where we're trying to be independent and we think that we can be on our own and we push our families away. It's just something that a lot of teenagers go through. I see other teenagers do it now and I get so ticked off. I get so mad just looking and saying like, yo, if only you knew how much your family loved you, how much your mother loves you, how much it hurts her to not be with you, to not have you in her nest. That's something that's just so painful, and I think of the day that my daughter will leave the nest and I think of, wow, like how did my mother feel to see me be independent? Because I've always been a person that was adventurous and independent and just went off and sort of did my thing. And, I do my best to this day to demonstrate to my mom that I appreciate her motherhood now, not just her motherhood before, but that she is still my mother. Doesn't matter how old I am, she's still my mother. It doesn't matter when she leaves this earth and goes on to be heaven, she's still my mother. The lessons that she taught me are always going to stick with me. And the love that she has given me is always something that provides me a way to love others. Because of the love that she has shown me, I can show a love to other people that they have not experienced because they did not have the privilege of having my mother as their mom. And I just hope that my daughter could think, wow, I really have the best father I could have ever had. And I am so lucky, in the same way that I feel about my parents, because flaws and everything, I love everything about my parents. I wouldn't want no other parent. And then number three, this is going to sound kind of funny. I've learned that people really don't like their kids. They don't like hanging out with their kids. They don't like being with their kids. I love being with my child. In my early and mid 20s, it just felt like everybody that had kids made it seem like they were just fiending to get rid of their kids at any time. Anytime it was possible, they would just throw them on the grandparents, throw them on a sister or a friend, whatever. Like, they were really fiending to not be with their kids. And I know some people have kids that are a lot, But I would say that my kid is a lot. My kid, she got an attitude, and I love her attitude and all. Like, I think it's cute when she gets an attitude. I know that it's gonna hurt me when, as she's getting older, and I'm gonna have to keep being harder and harder on her because, certain things that we find cute that our kids do, you can't let them keep doing that because they're gonna wind up beating you up when you're older because you just let them run amok and do whatever. I mean, she's only 1.5 years old, but we try to teach her even at the simplest levels, discipline that she could understand, even when it comes to, throwing the tantrums if she wants to eat. Teaching her to use her words. You say, no, you're not going to scream, say eat, eat. And I'm not giving you this snack until you say eat, eat, and you do the little sign language thing. And then we hear you're using your words, and I'm going to give you that positive affirmation. Like, yep, that's what's going to get you what you want. Healthy communication. But all the tantrum stuff, you could throw a fit all you want. I'm going to hug you. I'm going to comfort you. But you're not going to just get your way by just throwing tantrums. And that's stuff that, I try to teach her younger. And, that's daddy's little girl. So sometimes my wife has to keep me in check and say, you can't just give her stuff right away. You can't just feel bad. And I got to keep her in check sometimes when, if she's screaming and she picks her up too fast. It's like, you can't teach her that as soon as she opens her mouth to cry, that's what's going to get her picked up, because that's going to be just a pattern. And it's not that she's trying to be manipulative or anything. It's just she's learning how to communicate. She's learning how to navigate this world and relationship with people, and learning what it means to be in relationship with other humans and collaboration. And we have to teach her what are the healthy ways of doing that, even from a very young age. I'm not trying to start when she's 7 years old and bullying other kids in school. But there's so many times where our daughter is, frustrating just like any other child, and I have to take her in another room by myself and give mom a break, or mom will have to take her so that I can get work done or whatever, and we help one another in those ways. And I can't imagine what single dads and single moms have to go through where they just doing that by themselves. And yet I love my daughter. As soon as I leave my house to go to my job, I'm just like, I wish I could bring my daughter to my job. Me and my wife, when it's our anniversary, we go do picnics or we go out to eat. If it's somewhere where we can bring children, we'll bring her. We love bringing around our daughter. If we're going on date nights to the movies and stuff, we'll bring her. The fact that a lot of people are constantly trying to throw their children on other people, I just can't relate. It's not even coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of confusion. Like I said, it doesn't matter how my daughter acts or if I get frustrated or whatever, I still want to be around her all the time. And I think it's just one of those things where I'm lucky that I love my daughter's personality. I love how she is. I love when she's being a little meanie weenie. I love when she's being a little angy tangy. You know what I'm saying? I love when she's hangry. I love all of that stuff about her. A lot of other people, they don't mix with their kids. They're just not compatible. There's a lot of things that people haven't reckoned with themselves and embraced about themselves. And when that starts coming out in their children, because they haven't reconciled that within their own selves, they see a part of themselves that they don't quite like coming out through their children that they haven't quite dealt with. And, loving and being around your child is a journey that I've realized is about being okay and being happy to be by yourself and learning how to love your own company and give yourself grace and not stay mad at yourself, because ultimately this child is a reflection of everything that your parents worked for and now that you are working for. And speaking of what your parents have worked for, number 4 is children make you more moral, or at least they should make you more moral. So a lot of I did come back to Christ, and so naturally my behavior started changing. But before I even did that, I already started desiring to have a family, desiring to have a child. Around the age of 24, 25 was when I really started thinking about those things. And I just started thinking, every little thing I did, would I be okay if my child did this? If not, I probably should not do it. So y'all know I had a foul mouth and I cursed more than a sailor. Those are things that came up, and it's just like, I'd be like, you know what? It's not just that Christ is working in me, but now I have someone else to be accountable to. I'm responsible for this little child that's going to hear how I talk, and I'm not okay with her cursing. It takes more skill and tact to express negative emotion like anger, like jealousy, like sadness in a way that is healthy communication, that's not degrading to others, that's not degrading to yourself, that's not defiling your tongue by constantly cursing. I want my daughter to be able to say what's actually wrong, not just say something is wrong by saying F-U-C-K. Do I want my child to be getting high? No. So why would I get high? Why would I smoke weed? Why would I teach her that that's something that she should be doing with her time? Why would I go and get drunk? And when my wife and I met, we were in an open relationship. I was polyamorous. I was transgender. My life was completely different. And so naturally we were in fornication. And I had to think to myself, how would I feel if my daughter was with someone and she was giving away her body to someone and he did not see her worthy enough to marry her, but he saw her worthy of defiling? How would I feel if my son was out here throwing himself at every woman that would say yes, the same lifestyle that I was living, to validate his emotions, putting himself at risk of false accusations, of tarnishing his reputation, instead of being someone that is of a good reputation, of a good name? So God revealed to me a lot through just my desire to have children. Like, if you really are to be ready to have children, you need to be willing to change a lot of things about yourself. And you need to set yourself to a much higher standard than what you can possibly achieve right now, and constantly run that race toward that finish line. I'm not comfortable telling my daughter, do as I say and not as I do. Because obviously I'm going to make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. But it's important that when I do make those certain mistakes, she can look at me and say, he came back around from that one. He understood and took accountability that he was wrong and he changed it. He didn't just shrug his shoulders and say, that's just what I do. And I could do that because I'm grown, and you can't do that because you little and you got to do what I say. My father is not a hypocrite. He's a flawed leader, but he's a leader and he's not a hypocrite. And he truly believes in the things that he says. Number 5, life is precious. Life is so precious. And I can't share too many details with y'all. I've shared some of this stuff on my Instagram page about my views on pro-life and history of abortion and stuff. I don't go too much in detail in that because I'm respecting the fact that it's not just my story to tell. But having a child has really had to force me to take so many looks at the guilt and shame that I've felt because I was a father before this. And I know people don't like men talking about how they feel when their partners go and get abortions. We're supposed to just stay quiet and not have any opinion on it, not say anything, not have any feelings about our child. The bottom line is that's our child. It doesn't matter if they weren't born into this world, if they were terminated early, that's our child. We have the right to grieve that. And the fact that I did not stand up for what's right because I was ignorant and degraded life as just a clump of cells, I don't believe that I deserve to ever feel okay with the fact that I didn't stand up and say, this is wrong. The fact that I just said, well, your body, your choice, you do whatever you want. And I was the type that would say, well, I support you, whatever you want to do. But you don't tell a woman when she's pregnant, I support whatever you want to do. That's not what makes a woman feel safe to have your child. You tell a woman, I want you to bring life into this world because this is what we've created, and I want you to bring this into this world. You don't sit on the fence and say, it's up to you. That's feminine behavior. That's not standing up as a man, as a head, and saying, I'm here to take care of my child. And if you go against that and you decide to kill the child, the blood is on your hands, but I am here to have that child and step in and say, I'm willing to take care of that child if you're not willing to take care of that child. And there's a lot of men that are hypocritical in this way where they will shame women for getting abortions, but they are not the type to step forward and say, I'm willing to be a single dad. And so if we cannot make a woman feel secure in bringing life into this world because we were committing fornication because we have defiled them, because we did not marry them, we have not made them feel secure, then we need to take accountability as men for that. And I couldn't possibly imagine not having my daughter in this life. There's so many trying times in marriages, especially in the early stages where, arguments happen, disagreements happen. There's times where you think, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? Because in those early stages, you are trying to figure out how to take two individuals and make them become one in every single way so that you are a unit. And that's something that's hard to do. It don't matter how long you date before then, or it's different after marriage. And every single time that I sat and thought, what is my life going to look like in 5 years? Or what would my life have looked like if I hadn't met my wife? Or something, it's impossible for me to even really conjure something in my mind because of Genesis, because we had this child and we've brought conscious life that has created such a level of permanence that is so precious to me. And it just makes me think of, the siblings that she could have possibly had if I understood the value of life earlier. I'm going to share a little something with you guys. My daughter, she has low muscle tone. That's a whole nother journey that we had to go through to figure out what was even wrong in the first place. And we've only kind of just found this out. But long story short, a geneticist had called us, a genetic counselor had called us, and they were like, we do genetic testing. So if you guys are trying to have kids in the future, you guys will have the option to do early genetic testing, like so that you guys know if a child is going to have, whatever genetic disorder, so you can decide if you want to keep the pregnancy or not. And that made both of us very offended. To think, how dare I decide who gets to live and who gets to die? It brings me back to when God told Moses, am I not the one who's made the deaf, the mute, and the blind, and the dumb, and the lame? I'm the one who's created human beings. And if I decide that someone should be born and have some kind of disorder or some kind of deformity, it's not up to us human beings to play eugenics and decide who gets to live, who's worthy of living, and who's too incompetent. And my daughter is truly a light in my life and the life of so many other people. She lights up every room that she comes into. People love her. How could I, if I have another child, how could I look at my daughter and say, we decided not to have this child because we didn't want another child like you. We wanted a normal child. We wanted to make sure it was a normal pregnancy. I don't care what disorders my child has. I want my child because that is my child and I love my child. We both sat down and talked, and I told my wife, I said, look, if a doctor ever told us something like, your daughter's only going to be alive for like 3 hours because their lungs are like not developed, or that they're going to die within a few days, I would still want to experience that child and have that child experience all the love that they can possibly get, because killing a child, that's not love. I would want to spend every second that I possibly could that God has gifted me with this child. And I don't come on here to ruffle people's feathers. I don't come on here to upset people that may think differently from me, especially on such a controversial topic like this pro-life, pro-abortion, pro-choice stuff. But that's just me. That's just me. And so number 6, what I've learned about fatherhood is you cannot be a good father without being a good husband. Plain and simple. I tell you, that's a complete 180 from how I've used to believe before I've had children. There was times where I've seen people that, they were very unfaithful, or they even beat their wives, but they treated their children like gold. They loved being around their children. They fought to have their children, to have custody, this and the third. And I would think, well, it's possible to be a bad husband and to be a good father. And it's possible that, people get a divorce and, they could still be a good father even though they're a terrible husband. I don't think that that's true. Because at the end of the day, your wife or your baby moms, whoever you had a child with, your child is one half of that person. So you have to love this person in a way that is honorable, that gives her dignity in order to love your child. There's no such thing as beating up on your child's mother. There's no such thing as cheating on your child's mother and still calling yourself a good husband, a good father. That mother is so precious to your child. Everything that you do to her, you do to that child. And obviously we make mistakes and we're always going to hurt one another because we are humans and we are flawed. The flesh is the flesh. We're going to all hurt one another in some way. And we can hurt people that we love. It happens. But if you accept treating your wife like garbage and still think that you're being a good father, nah. I've already had these discussions with my wife. Even though we make a great team, we're very compatible, we're very complementary to one another, we're very individual. She's an artist herself. She is very smart. She likes numbers and money. I like numbers and space. Just being realistic here. I didn't choose to just marry you and have a child with you just because of how we are when we're together, but because I have faith that if something winds up happening to where we are not together, I trust that you will still honor me as a child's father, as your ex-husband, as a human being, and that we can never sever that. You can't undo the fact that we were married, we had a child, we started a family, we created life together. I trust that you will honor me and I'm always going to honor you. You're my child's mother. I'm never going to go out my way to degrade you to my child or disrespect you. And I understand that people say stuff like that and stuff changes. But we've had talks, healthy talks about what life would look like. You have to think about those things. You can't be in la la land. We're both pretty realistic people. And when you have those kind of discussions, it makes you closer. It makes you realize, no, we want to stay together because obviously we work. Because look at how good we are if we're separated. We might as well stay together. We know that we're always going to be able to resolve conflict in this unconditional love that we have for one another. My wife is a great mother. And so if I can be a great husband, make her feel firm, supported, not feel worried or doubtful of how I feel about her, if I could work on that more, then my daughter will be able to see a great example of what a healthy marriage looks like, what conflict resolution looks like, what a man is supposed to do in a household, how a woman is supposed to feel, what happiness and joy looks like in a marriage because I'm being a good husband. So that is a very, very important part of me being a good father. Number 7, and this kind of ties back into the whole reconciling and accepting parts of yourself when you like spending time with your child. Number 7 is family is all you got. That's all you got. Like, that's the only thing that's cemented. It doesn't matter what your brothers or your sisters or your mother, your father does. You share DNA, you share blood. There's nothing that's going to change that. You could sit there and be like, I disown you, I don't want nothing to do with you. But it doesn't change the fact that at some point in time, that person came from you in some way and you are linked forever. No matter what happens, you're linked. And so the way that you treat your family is so important. It's the most permanent thing ever. You can't run away from that. You can't really break up with family. Your brother's going to be your brother. It don't matter if you X them out of your life. Children nowadays are cutting their parents off. They say they're more peaceful in life, but they still have that sting of, wow, I can't have parents. I can't have my parents in my life because my parents are narcissistic or whatever. I can't have my daughter in my life because she hates me. Or incest is talked about like it's some sort of taboo, but incest is one of the things that ravages families the most. The destruction, the way that the enemy comes into a family and absolutely destroys it with one simple act, with just a thought. You know, when stuff like that happens, it is almost irreparable. I've seen and heard about families getting into fistfights. You know, the moment you put your hands on your father, that's cemented. It don't matter if they forgive you, you know, years down the road, this and the third, you're still going to remember that moment that you said something. Listen, there was times where things got really heated because me and my father used to butt heads. And there was a time even where me and my mother butt heads because she stood by her husband, because that's her husband and that's what you're supposed to do. And I've cursed both of them out. And I, to this day, feel bad about that. I still feel bad about it. You know, it's funny. One time my mom said, you know what, Jeffrey, you're going to remember that you said that. You're going to remember that you said that. And you know what? I forgive you, but you're going to remember that. And that's the thing. When you're a parent, it's like, you understand, well, these kids, they're going to say and do crazy stuff. So it doesn't really get to you that bad. But you know it's going to get to them. And that's really what hurts. It's like, as you're growing up, you just do certain things because you take family for granted. You don't realize that these things are going to haunt you because these are the people that you're stuck with. These are the people that you have to learn to love in the most upstanding way, because this is your family. If you choose to just cut off your family and say, I'm not going to deal with it, I'm going to run away from this problem, there's always going to be that hole. There's always going to be that something is missing there. You could say, oh, well, I got friends and I can meet my spiritual tribe or whatever, but why did you have to find a spiritual tribe? Because it didn't work out with your hereditary family. There's a reason why people that are adopted almost always have this identity crisis of like, I want to at least know who my biological parents were. I want to know their story. I want to know how I got here. I love my adoptive parents, but I want to know my story, how I got here. And this almost every time when they don't know, they have like some sort of instinct, like something's out of place. And then all of a sudden, later down the road, they find out from a family member that comes and says, yo, you're adopted. I'm your secret long lost brother. And your family was hiding this from you all along. And they're like, yo, I felt like I knew it. I knew it. And they gaslit me and they told me like nothing was wrong. And, you know, I'm not adopted, but I felt something deep down inside. And family is so important. It's all you got. It's all you got. When you die, friends can turn around and say, I was never his friend. Your coworkers could turn around and say, I hated working with that guy. But your brother can never say, that was never my brother, because you share DNA. And I want my daughter to know that even if the whole world turns on her, I'm all she's got. Her mother's all she's got. Her two grandmothers, all she's got. Her aunts, we stand with her. It doesn't matter what anyone says. We are safe. We are home base. Well, that's 7 things that I learned about fatherhood in the last year and a half. And as I promised y'all, I do have some great news. We are expecting a second child. 2 under 2. My first child was born June 2023. And my second child is going to be born June 2025. It's going to be an expensive month for the rest of my life. You know, I was happy with my one daughter. It was, you know, I used to tell my wife, I'm like, yo, no lie, I feel like this is going to be my favorite kid. I'm sorry for whatever other siblings we have, but this is probably going to be my favorite child. And I just love her so much. And then when I found out that I'm having another child, I'm like, I didn't even know I had more. Like, I have more love that has just kind of exploded out of me. I'm like, that's my favorite child too. They're both my favorite child. And I just can't wait to have more, you know? And I know she's going to be mad hearing that, because she's going to be like, chill. Let's take a little 2-week hiatus from children, you know what I'm saying? Or 2 year. Did I say 2 week? I'm bugging. But I'm ecstatic. I love being a father. If everything else failed, if I can't achieve anything else in my life that I would like to achieve, if I was a bum on the street, if I was homeless, it don't matter. As long as I know that I'm a father, I have achieved a level of happiness that I never could have possibly imagined. can we get something in the comment section going? Can y'all tell some stories? Can y'all give some hope to fathers that are expecting right now, that are scared of, you know, whether they can step up to the plate? Can we just show love to one another? Let's just have a little early Father's Day here in December, because every time I hear somebody in my church is going to be a father, I just get so happy for them. You know, I just always ask, you know, like, how do you feel? Like, how do you really feel? Not just like good. I want to hear everything. I really, truly want to hear the details, because there's just so many layers and levels that amalgamates your entire life into just one anticipation, one expectation, that waiting period. Just thinking of what your child's gonna look like, what their laugh is gonna sound like, what they're gonna be, their little quirks and their bad habits, and you know, what are the arguments you're gonna have later in life. Just all of those things just comes up into one welled up ball of just love, to where you just can't wait for all of it. You just can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to hearing about all of the people that grew up watching this channel and seeing all the changes that I've gone through, and the people that have become fathers this year or recently, or are gonna be a father next year. I'd love to hear about that. It's been your biggity boy, the priest from the east, Nova, straight from Jehovah, Almonte. I'm a dead holla at you.